Okay, good day, good evening, depending on whatever time you're going to be watching this. So, today we'll be basically just going over variables in C++. So I'll be using dev C++ as my IDE, but you guys can use whatever IDE that you'll choose to use. So I'll just try to basically edit the font size because I want to make sure that you guys can actually see whatever it is that I'm going to be writing down. So let me just make it 13 and let's basically wait for that to upload. Okay, so now it's at 13. So basically variables, you can just think of variables as something that just stores value, that just stores information, right? So a variable is something that essentially just stores information. It could store literally anything. It could store a number, it could store your home address, it could store basically even your name. It could store anything. A variable can essentially store any piece of information that you would want to pass down to it. So we basically have different data types of variables. So as I just mentioned that in variables, we essentially have different data types, or we can basically store a lot of information on them. We also need to specify to the computer or to the compiler that what type of information are we actually going to be inputting into our variable. So we have basically, we'll basically be using four of the data types that we are given by our computer. So we basically have the Boolean data type, right? So the Boolean data type, essentially it's just true or false, right? And so we also have the string data type, and so the string data type is basically denoted by these these inverted commas. And then we essentially also have the int data type, and so the int data type stores 1 2 3 4 5. It basically stores integer values, right, a whole number. And then we have double, right? And so the double essentially just stores anything that contains a decimal, right? So maybe like 8 comma not comma 8.89, or something of that magnitude. And then we also have real. So basically there is no visible difference between real and double. It's just a matter of how much do you actually want to contain within your variable. So, for example, the real data type essentially just allows you to, store a lot of values within your variable, whereas with the double data type, it has its limits. But they essentially do the exact same thing, right? But yeah, they essentially just do the exact same thing. So you can have negative 9.8. So when I say that the integer data type, it stores integers, I am not saying that it stores only positive integers. It can also store a -3. It can also store a -6 or a -9. So it can also store a -7. It stores a whole positive, in not positive, but a whole number, right? They don't necessarily store positive values, although we do usually pass positive values into an integer data type, but they essentially just pass in, or they contain whole numbers. So let's just create a simple application. The simple application is just basically going to be multiplying basically two different variables. So we're going to have integer num1 is equals to, maybe say 3, integer num2 is equals to let's just say it's equals to 4. Okay, I don't think I put equals to there. Now it's equals to, okay, so it's equals to 4. And so now we're going to be saying std cout basically num1 multiplied by num2. And so we can then sort of run this program. Let me just save this as variables, right? Variables. And so when we run this hash variables, okay, sorry, right, I'm supposed to basically comment these guys out. So I sorry about that. I'm gonna comment these guys out. Okay. Sorry about that. Comment these guys out. Right. STDC out. Okay, so this is supposed to be. Yeah, I don't know why I'm making such stupid mistakes right now. Okay, multiplied. It should work. Yeah. So we're going to essentially get 12, right? So we're going to get 12. Yeah, so we're getting 12. So I just want to touch on one thing that just happened here, or one thing about variables in and out of itself. So basically, variables, right? Variables, they cannot store, not store, but they cannot start with any character that is a number that could be maybe say hash, dollar sign, percent, and it's called an ampersand, all this. It cannot start with any of these, right? It cannot start with a number. So for the number, we're just going to be doing 0, 1, no. So it can't start with any of these two things. It can neither start with this guy, nor could it start with this. It can contain those things, as we can see here that we said num1, but we did not just do hash num1, because if I said hash num1 and I then try to run this program, it's going to give me an error, right? A stray hash in the program, right? It's not supposed to be there because it shouldn't start with either these characters, these particular characters, or these integer values. So that's just basically the overview or the simplification of variables in C++. We can also have the string variable, so say string name is equals to, sorry, I can't even spell my name, by the way. So we can have, we can say string name is equals to, right? And so when we then try and see out this thing, it's going to basically output my name. So we can also have, let's just get a bool is true. And so a boolean is basically the default value that a boolean is given, it's true, right? So you're going to find that if that happens, we're going to get 0, right? So it's 0 could either be true or 0, right? So 0, it's true. And then -1, it's basically false, right? So this could be represented in multiple or in many different ways, but for C++, the default value for a boolean, it's basically 0 or -1, but you're going to find that in different programming languages, like say maybe JavaScript or Python, the default value that is given to a boolean might be false or true, right? So yeah, that's basically just booleans, and so you can just think of, so let's just get a double, right? So let's just get a double. So double, let's just say price, right? Price, it's equals to, whatever that is, .96, right? And so let's just declare price divided by, let's just say price divided by 5, if we want to. And so it's actually going to be giving us a value, right? Divided by 5, it's going to give us a value. But what if I do that? What if I say 5.0, right? It's still going to be giving us that exact same value. So this / basically it's a double division, right? So in math, we learned that there is this division, there is multiplication, there is subtraction, and then there is addition. So essentially all of these, right, all of these are known as arithmetic operators, right? We know all of these guys as arithmetic operators. So in programming in general, we always try to give each and everything or each and every sort of like part of our program its individual name. We're trying to assign it a name. Why do we do that? It's because we are trying to essentially understand, or we're trying to break down things into their smaller into their smaller bits, because you're going to run into different operators such as this operator, right? Because this is also called an operator. We are also going to be running into the less than, right? The less than equals to greater than not, right? These are also operators. So we basically have multiple operators in programming, and we try to assign each of them their individual names so that we can easily identify them and know when to apply them in which part of our program. So essentially that's what we're doing. And so this division operator, not that it's only applicable towards double data types, but it will not give you a precise value if, say, for example, let's just say that this guy is an integer, right? Let's just say that that guy is an integer, right? I know that an integer does not have that, right? So let's just try and work that out. So it's going to give you approximately the exact same value. But now what happens if you have 15.75, right? 15.75. So we're going to say price divided by 5. It's going to give us 3, but that's not the accurate value, because it's giving us 3 because it basically truncates this entire decimal part, right? So truncation essentially means that you remove the decimal part from the number itself. So you just basically want the entire whole number. So that's what it does. So if you want to basically find a way in which you can still get a bit of an accurate value, what you can do is you can keep your numerator as an integer, but what you can also do is you can then sort of have your denominator to be a double, right? So first of all, this cannot work because an integer does not store a decimal, right? So we're going to say price divided by, let's say, I don't know, 5.4, right? Whatever value you're going to get there. So it's going to give us a decimal. So the best way in which you can basically try and cheat the system is that if you want to use the division operator, but you still want to basically divide a particular value with an integer, make sure that your numerator is an integer and that your denominator is a real number or a double, but a number that basically contains a decimal. If you wanted to just divide it by 5, what you can then try to do is you can then say 5.0. If you say 5, 0.0 is going to give you 3, right? But for safety reasons, right, for examination purposes, you might not necessarily need to include the 5.0 because essentially it'll just give you the exact same output. But for examination purposes, for educational purposes, they will try to basically catch you out on this. They will try to see if you understand the order of operations on how arithmetic operators actually function in programming, in comparison to just say a normal mathematics test. So that's basically variables in C++.